I actually lived out on Meadow Lake for 4 years. It's one of my favorite lakes to wakeboard on. It's just perfect. It's kind of a little secret, so shh. Hi, welcome to Dock Talk. This is Hunter Crone with the Lakefront Group. I'm here with Scott, and Scott is actually a Lakefront Group client. So how did you come about Meadow Lake?
My wife and I have been married 17 years, and we've spent the majority of that time looking for a lake house. I grew up in and around the water. My family had a lake house growing up. We have 3 little kids under the age of 11. So this is something we've always wanted for our family, is to replicate the memories that I had growing up. And we landed on beautiful Meadow Lake, and we absolutely love it. We've loved our time here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wanted to actually bring you out here because of your finance background. Make it simple for us. How much is this dam going to cost?
So that's the big question, Hunter. And the WCID has spent a lot of time looking into this. And as best as I understand, they hired an engineering firm, and they came out with an estimate that says $20 million. So of the $20 million, $5 million of that was for contingencies, so kind of overages and everything. Mm-hmm. In addition, the WCID has actionable quotes today for $6.5 million. So there's no overages on $6.5 million of the $15 million of actual costs. So where I think about it is it's somewhere between 15 and 20 million, with actually it could go significantly lower than 15, but 15 to 20 million is the simple answer.
So how much is that going to cost the individual homeowner on the lake?
So that's a more complicated question. Before we talk about individual homeowners, let's first talk about who's paying the 15 to 20 million. So the great news about this is, let's just say it is 20 million. Let's say that all of these costs are taken into account, it is the high end. City of Seguin has offered to pay, and voted unanimously at their city council meeting, to pay $5 million.
Wow.
Of the total cost.
Yeah.
So the City of Seguin is very supportive of getting this done. Seguin is all in. So $5 million is coming from the City of Seguin. There's a Department of Energy grant that might actually provide us up to $5 million.
Wow.
And we don't have to pay that back. So you have $5 million from Seguin, $5 million potentially from the federal government. Even if it's 20 million, that means us residents might only pay 10 million or less. So the first question is, how much are us residents going to pay? And it's somewhere between 10 and 15 million, maybe even 5 million if we can come in below costs.
Okay. So even though they're voting on 15 million, doesn't mean you're actually going to spend the 15 million.
Super important point. Just because you vote yes for 15 million doesn't mean the WCID has to spend it. This authorizes them to issue up to 15 million in bonds.
Okay.
But of course, the only amount we want to spend is whatever it takes to build the dam. And if it's significantly less than 15 million, then we'll issue significantly less than 15 million bonds. So that's the great thing. This just creates the option, not the requirement.
And the board members actually live on the lake?
The board members are on the lake. I'm not on the board. I'm a concerned resident. I'm fully supportive of the dam. But I'm not on the board, and it is the board members that are on the lake.
And paying the taxes.
And paying the taxes, and elected by all of us lake residents.
Okay.
So we're fully aligned with the people spending the money for the dam.
Wonderful. So now getting back to my other question is, how much does this actually cost the individual property owner on the lake?
So that's the most important question every resident probably has. So here's the math. If the project comes in between 15 and 20 million, of which a lot of it is being subsidized by other sources, the average resident should expect somewhere between $400 and $1,100 in taxes per $100,000 of house value. So the average home is worth about $400,000. So if you take the midpoint, the average home would pay about $3,000 a year. And it's basically fixed. Yeah. For those 30 years.
Yes. If your property value goes up, they're going to reduce your tax rate for the WCID to get that $3,000 average payment each year, correct?
That's right. So if our house appreciates in value, our home mortgage doesn't get any more expensive. It's essentially a fixed amount over the life of the 30 years, over the life of the bond.
Yeah. Well, let's say the $400,000 average home, so that's $3,000. So let's double that. If every house is now worth $800,000 on the lake, they still need just the $3,000.
You only need $3,000.
So the tax rate will be adjusted to get that $3,000 average on each home. Because think about it. I mean, property values 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. I mean, the tax rate's going to constantly be lowered and lowered and lowered
my math in my head is, would I rather pay $3,000 a year, on the average homeowner in taxes, or would I rather lose value? So as a real estate agent, question for you. If the dam isn't built, how much should we expect home prices to come down? So we might save our $3,000 and not have to pay it, but what would happen to our house value?
The only example I can give is like when Dunlap went down and there was no plan. So people were buying into the unknown, and it was about that 28% reduction. I sold a house on Lake Dunlap with 140 feet of waterfront, triple bay boat lift, 3,800 square foot, really nice house. It had never flooded, great main lake, and it sold for around 900. I could get over $2 million for that house right now.
So for me, that feels like a good trade-off.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one of the biggest investments most people have is their home. And I know they like to pay lower taxes, but I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Agreed. And what advice would you give for a resident who thinks, I'm ready to move out?
Then definitely vote yes. I mean, you're ready to move with Dunlap. The second the vote passed, values jumped and people started selling at a lot higher prices. I mean, it was immediate. So even if you don't want to wait till the dam comes back, help get the vote, pass the vote, so your value will come back even before the dam comes back, before the lake's back. You'll see values jump because a lot of people are on the sidelines right now for Meadow. We deal with most of the buyers for Meadow Lake, and most of them are sitting there waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. So vote yes to help to preserve all of our property values.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes for propositions A, B, and C.
That's right, and it is A, B, and C. All three have to pass. But early voting starts soon, so I encourage all of you to go out and vote early, encourage your neighbors to vote, and vote for Proposition A, B, and C. Election day is November 7th, so I hope to see you at the polls, and remember, vote for Proposition A, B, and C.
Let's get Meadow Lake back.